Well, hello class. We're already on Module 7 and Chapter 7, What a Coincidence. This is about motivational concepts, kind of an important overview that I'm going to give you right now of the chapter. Then I'm going to shoot you some videos and then an assignment that'll be due next Thursday. But this chapter on motivation is important because as far as organizational behavior is concerned, motivation is one of the major interests in OB because it relates directly to culture. So properly motivating a workforce can lead to gains in productivity, innovation, and employee retention. So this chapter is kind of going to review the basics of motivation and assess the number of motivation theories and provide an integrated model that shows how the best of these theories fit together. The chapter objectives are laid out in PowerPoint 7.3, and there are 5. And the first one is to describe the key elements of motivation. The second is to evaluate the applicability of early theories of motivation. The third is contrast the elements of self-determination theory and goal-setting theory. The fourth is to demonstrate the differences between self-efficacy theory, equity theory, and expectancy theory. And finally, identify the implications of employee job engagement for managers. So, let's talk about motivation in the U.S. It's been a problematic thing for years and years and years, and the reason that it's problematic is because that a lot of employees have detrimental behaviors such as wasting time, absenteeism, downtime, high turnover. So it's important that motivational theories are understood and applied to the workplace to try to reduce absenteeism, downtime, wasting time, and to work on retention. Employees need challenges in their jobs, and you do this through motivation. So let's define motivation. Look at PowerPoint 7.4 and 7.5. There are 3 elements in the definition: intensity, direction, and persistence. There are early theories of motivation. Look at PowerPoint 7.5. The 4 early theories are, and I think some of these we discussed in our class, PowerPoint 7.6 and Exhibit 7.1 goes into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I know I talked about this several times in class. PowerPoint 7.7 goes into Douglas McGregor's theory X and theory Y. We talked about that as well. And the 2-factor theory, Frederick Hertzberg, Exhibit 7.2 and PowerPoint 7.8. And Hertzberg, as you know, proposed an individual's relationship to his or her work, and that relationship is basic toward one's attitude in the workplace and whether they are successful or not. Hertzberg also introduced hygiene factors and motivational factors. And then the other one that we probably touched on, and we'll go over it in detail this time, is McClelland's theory of needs. David McClelland and his associates created a theory based on 3 subconscious needs, PowerPoint 7.9 and 7.10 in your book. Need for achievement. That's the first need. The second one is the need for power. The third is the need for affiliation. And those 3 needs are very, very high. Okay? So we know the best managers appear to be those with a high need for power and a low need for affiliation. So McClelland's theory has the best research support, but has least practical effect of any of the early motivational theories. So the next set of theories we're going to talk about are the contemporary theories of motivation, and that's PowerPoint 7.11. So unlike the historic theories of motivation, these current theories of motivation do have a reasonable degree of supporting documentation. So it's important to remember that these are still theories and none of these have been proven true. The self-determination theory, that's PowerPoint 712, proposes that people prefer to feel they have control over their actions. So anything that makes a previously enjoyed task feel more like an obligation than a freely chosen activity will undermine motivation. And then the self-determination theory is saying that in addition to being driven by a need for autonomy, people seek ways to achieve competence and positive connections to others. The next is the goal-setting theory. That's PowerPoint 713 in your book. And this theory studies the effects goal specificity, challenge, and feedback have on one's performance. The study of goal setting has created the following general rules. Specific goals produce a higher level of output than do generalized goals. Specific goals produce a higher level, typically the more difficult the goal, the higher level of performance. That's the next thing. And they go into feedback. Feedback is important in goal setting theory, especially self-generated feedback. So the question of whether participative goal setting increases motivation has not yet really been resolved. There is an assumption that when employees are involved in setting the goals, they have greater buy-in and therefore they're going to have a higher level of commitment. And I believe this to be true. When employees don't participate in goal setting, the manager has to take pains to explain the purpose and importance of the goal. There are contingencies in goal setting theory, and you see all of this on 713. There's goal commitment, there's task characteristics, there's national culture. If you look at PowerPoint 714, that goes into detail on MBO, which is management by objectives. One or more effective ways to formalize goal-setting theory into an organization is through MBO. And MBO emphasizes participatively goals that are tangible, verifiable, and manageable. The result of MBO is a hierarchical structure of objectives that build toward organizational objectives. So, what are the 4 ingredients to MBO programs? A, goal specificity. B, participation in decision making. 3, an explicit time period. And 4, performance feedback. So you can find that on PowerPoint 715 and Exhibit 7.3. So there are other contemporary theories of motivation that you can read about. PowerPoint 716 and 717, as well as PowerPoint 718, Exhibit 7.3 and 7.4, talk about the self-efficacy theory. And it talks about goal-setting theory and self-efficacy theory, how they complement each other. So, there are essentially 4 ways. I'll look at specifically Exhibit 7.4 on how to increase self-efficacy. That would be A, executive mastery, B, vicarious modeling, C, verbal persuasion, and D, arousal. They also do a comparative analysis of personality and intelligence. Look at PowerPoint 719 and Exhibit 7.5. That goes into equity theory. And 720, it's going to talk about, based on equity theory, employees who perceive inequity will make one of 6 choices. A, change inputs. B, change outcomes. C, distort perceptions of themselves. D, distort perceptions of others. E, choose a different referent. And F, leave the field. That's quit the job altogether. So some of these propositions have been supported, but others haven't. And you want to read about that. Look at PowerPoint 721 and Exhibit 7.6. And it goes more into things like distributive justice and procedural justice as they apply to equity theory. Then look at expectancy theory on PowerPoint 722 and 723 in Exhibit 7.7. What about expectancy theory? This theory is a widely accepted theory which explains motivation as a coupling of 3 beliefs. A, effort will lead to a good performance appraisal. B, good appraisals will lead to organizational rewards. And C, organizational rewards will satisfy the employee's personal goals. And finally, D, the relationship between these 3 beliefs and the strength of the links between them are the focus of what? Drumroll, expectancy theory. So, workplace motivation, PowerPoint 724 and 725. Job engagement. That's really important. Get your employees involved in the job. They'll feel that they're a part of it. They'll feel that they're a part of the team. Match their values to the workplace. They will become better and more engaged as an employee and in their productivity, increasing retention and lowering turnover. That's it. That's my spiel. See you on Thursday.